Chris, Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here to preview Kentucky's road trip to Louisville. That one going to be at Cardinal Stadium in Louisville, 11 Central on ABC. This one on Saturday. Our friends at BetOnline have established Kentucky is a 7-point favorite with a Louisville is a 7-point favorite with a 50.5-point over-under. That makes for a predicted final of Louisville 29, Kentucky 22. Other lines of note, Sagarin has got this one as a 9-point game in Louisville's favor, SP plus 8 for Louisville, FPI and team rankings, both 10 for Louisville. Blake, these are two teams going in opposite directions. Kentucky's season-ending performance in the second half of the season has been largely disappointing. Meanwhile, Louisville, I think getting a playoff berth is going to be a long shot. But, hey, beat Kentucky, beat Florida State. Some craziness happens elsewhere. It's not off the table. Going to be interesting to see the motivation factor for these games. It is an in-state rivalry, but Louisville a lot more to play for than Kentucky in this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, you already know what's at stake for Louisville, like you said. You know they're going to play Florida State in the ACC championship game, and you know they do still have a lot to play for here. Like you said, the wild things can happen the rest of the way depending on how this thing unfolds. But you know, you want to at least give yourself a chance going into the ACC championship game, like you said, from a playoff standpoint. Depending on a lot of things have to happen, all that I get it, but still, they've had a remarkable season, 10-1. You know, the only blip on the radar is the Pitt game, but that was a month ago. Since then, they win the Wild one against Miami, you know, beat Virginia, you know, and just keep going, right? Like that's just the kind of season they've had. And you said it best. Like these are two teams going in opposite directions. Kentucky has just not been able to build any momentum whatsoever outside of a 24-3 win at Mississippi State, which again came without Will Rogers on the floor or on the floor. I'm in basketball mode now. Kentucky fans may prefer that I talk about basketball instead of football at this moment, but without Will Rogers, without Marks on the field. So it's a win. You'll take it. But still, like you said, just not been a fun finish for Kentucky football fans based on the way the season started. So.
Yeah, that included a loss, obviously, last week to South Carolina as well. But anyway, our holiday season is off and rolling. NFL's in full stride. The NBA and the NHL are hitting midseason form. BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering information with up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. BetOnline is a top spot for everything pro and amateur sports. And it's not just the big four. BetOnline has info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that is played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to BetOnline today. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. When Kentucky has the ball, Cats averaging 27.7 points a game. Louisville giving up 18.4. Kentucky is throwing it 56% of the time. It is getting 6.2 yards per pass play. Louisville giving up 6 yards flat per pass play. That is adjusted for sacks, whereas a sack comes off your passing yardage. When Kentucky runs the ball, the Cats averaging 5.9 per rushing play. Louisville giving up 4.2. But of note here, we have talked about how Kentucky's had such struggles throwing the ball with consistency. And now Ray Davis, who was in the running for the SEC Player of the Year offensively for the first two-thirds of the season, it's been a minute since he's had a 100-yard game. He sent out a tweet that seemed to express some frustration about being told he was the bell cow back. Saw some frustrated tweets from Kentucky on the other side of the ball too. But in any case, Kentucky's offense was built around Ray Davis and Devin Leary, and the idea that they would really lead the way there. Davis did it for a while. That's fallen off, and Leary just has been so inconsistent all season, as his receivers. This isn't an elite Louisville defense, but it is also one that forces turnovers 2.7% of the time. And Kentucky's turned it over a lot, 2.3% of the time. So I just don't like the way this matchup is trending for Kentucky on this side of the ball. And again, do the Cats have talent that could show up? Absolutely. Has it shown up lately to the way we think it should have? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I think this Louisville defense is pretty good. I think it's again, if I just look at sort of the statistical numbers, like on covers, they have like 12 categories that, advantage, offensive rank, defensive rank. Louisville has the advantage in 11 of the 12. The only one Kentucky has the advantage in. And, Louisville's giving up 12.8 yards per completion. That's 107th nationally. Kentucky's completing 12.2 in yards per completion, which is 53rd nationally. That's it. Everything else, you go down the line with Louisville, and I know there are some ACC offenses that leave a lot to be desired, but you can say the same thing about this Kentucky offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the same sort of situation where, yeah, there's a lot of guys who can make plays here, but they've just not done it consistently as a unit. And so whether you look at, Louisville's I mean, again, scoring defense is what it is. They've been great in the first and fourth quarter. I mean, they have just locked teams down in, kind of the bookend part of the game where I think they're giving up 1.9 points in the first quarter, which is fifth nationally. Fourth quarter, they're giving up 3 points in the fourth. Think about that. Like, this team just locks down late in games. And so, yeah, you said it. Like, what can we possibly expect from this Kentucky offense just with all the inconsistency? And you mentioned, Davis hasn't had a huge game in a while, since what? Probably the Missouri game. He rushed for 128, but remember, they still, got beat by 17 in that when he had the 280-yard game against Florida. But that feels like forever ago, and that was September 30th. And, Devin Leary, the huge kind of breakout games, Chris. How many of those have there been? The Tennessee game, the numbers look good, right? They still lost the game, but other than that, I mean, kind of in that 150, 120 to 150 range in passing yards. And I just don't think that's going to get it done against Louisville. And so, yeah, I'm really curious, like you said, just to see maybe what Kentucky's mindset is going into this one. And if they can find ways to sort of crack this Louisville defense, which again, the numbers suggest is a really, really good unit here. And if you watch them play, you've seen them just shut down teams, like I said, at different times in the game. So, yeah, I don't love the matchup for Kentucky here.
Let's look at the other side of the matchup. When Louisville's got the ball, the Cardinals average 33.2 per game. Kentucky giving up 24.3. The Cardinals run at 54% of the time, 5.6 per running play. Kentucky giving up 4.1 there. Passing plays, Louisville 8 flat per passing play. Louisville 6.4. Louisville turns it over a decent amount, 1.8% of the time. Kentucky forces turnovers 2.1% of the time. So that may be something to watch. Louisville certainly statistically has got the edge in this side of the matchup, but Kentucky's defense also talented in its secondary. It's got Deion Walker on that defensive line, and it has been pretty good at forcing turnovers this year, Blake.
Yeah, it does feel like a game, right, where Kentucky's defense is going to have to help out the offense. Like, they're going to have to give them a couple turnovers, get the field, shorter field to work with. That feels like the path to success for Kentucky. If you're just trying to find the easiest way to break this game into that, right? Like, to me, it's that. Like, they're going to need a couple of those turnovers that swing the momentum, early in the game, get shorter field to work with for Leary and company. And I think that's the recipe for success. Because otherwise, again, you can look at the numbers, you can see what Jack Plummer's done this season, which again, he's thrown some interceptions, right? And I think that's something where Kentucky maybe can try to capitalize on that a little bit. Jordan is obviously someone else that just from a rushing standpoint had some huge games. And yeah, I mean, this is a Louisville offense we know that can score points, but I do think Kentucky's defense has been good enough at times to at least, again, give them a chance to make this thing a game, which, it's a 7-point spread. It's not like we're expecting a huge blowout here. And again, one team's 10-1, one team's 6-5. So I think you see, and I think that's the part, right? With Kentucky, you see it. We see what they can be. It's just consistently they've not been there, but they have been more consistent on the defensive side at times. In some of the key areas, which I think will be important in this one, whether it is just, stopping the run, being able to do those kind of things. But again, I think Plummer could pick them apart if he's able just to sort of sit back and make things happen here. So not an easy matchup either on this side, but I do think this is probably the key to the game for me is Kentucky's defense has got to be really good here, and they do need to force a couple of those mistakes to make it easier on this offense.
Some other things of note. Kentucky's been penalized 56 yards a game, Louisville just 50. Special teams, Kentucky ranks 36th by SP Plus. Always got some explosive potential in the return game. Louisville ranked 68th. Bottom line, Blake, I don't know. Just the mood around Kentucky does not seem good. I don't know if being a huge rivalry game, and I do question how much those matter in the era of the transfer portal where things are so transitory compared to what they used to be. But it just I don't like the way Kentucky has looked. I don't like the things that seem to be coming out of there. Louisville has got so much to play for. It's lost one game all year. It's just so solid everywhere. And oh, by the way, it's hosting the game. Give me Louisville in this one.
Kentucky has won the last 4 games in the series and 5 of the last 6. And you can't tell me this Louisville team is not motivated beyond just the motivation of, again, having a chance playoff-wise to be in the conversation after the ACC championship game. If they win this one, win that one, like we said, stuff has to happen. We understand, but highly motivated to snap the streak. And again, like you said, I think Kentucky's level of motivation is going to be interesting, right? Because this is a team that is not finished well. And like you said, there is a lot of frustration, both probably inside and outside the program right now, and trying to figure out why this season has went the way it has gone. And I mean, look, Chris, I think this is one where Louisville being the home team here. If this was in Lexington, I don't know, maybe you feel a little bit better, but like that 7-point spread in Louisville's favor, I don't know. It looks enticing to me just because I think what we've seen with Louisville, as we said, the motivation is there to snap this losing streak to Kentucky. But if you want to look on the other side of this, Kentucky has sort of had their number at times. But I don't know. This just, like I said, in the both offense and defensively, this feels like a tough matchup for the Cats.
Thanks for watching our game preview of Louisville and Kentucky, presented by our friends at BetOnline. This has been our game preview of Louisville and Kentucky, presented by BetOnline.